They say the interstate never sleeps. But when you're a trucker, you quickly learn that the nights belong to the loners, the ghosts of the highway. I've been hauling freight for 15 years now, and I thought I'd seen everything. But what happened to me that night on Route 89 still makes me second-guess every single solo trip. It was a Tuesday, just past 11 p.m., when I got the call to take an emergency haul. The job was simple: deliver refrigerated cargo, frozen meats, from Flagstaff, Arizona, to a tiny town in Utah. The problem was, Route 89 was notorious for its isolated stretches. No gas stations, no rest stops, just endless desert roads. But it paid triple, and I wasn't going to turn it down. Everything was fine for the first 3 hours. My rig, a well-worn Peterbilt 379 I'd named Maggie, hummed steadily beneath me. The CB radio crackled occasionally, mostly static, but no chatter from other truckers. That was weird. Route 89 was usually alive with voices, but that night, silence. Then I saw her. She appeared out of nowhere. 1 minute the road ahead was empty, just 2 lanes stretching into the dark, and the next, there she was standing dead center in my high beams. A woman. Long, black hair tangled in the wind, pale skin glowing unnaturally in the light. She was barefoot, wearing a torn, dirty white dress that fluttered in the desert breeze. She didn't move, just stood there, staring at me, her arms limp at her sides. I slammed on the brakes, the screech echoing through the night as Maggie groaned to a stop. My heart pounded as I gripped the wheel, staring at her through the windshield. Who the hell was out here at this hour? This stretch of 89 didn't even have shoulders wide enough for a car to pull over. She didn't flinch, didn't blink. Now I'm no rookie. I've seen hitchhikers before, people broken down on the road, even the occasional drunk stumbling around. But there was something off about her. The way she stood, almost unnaturally still. The way her eyes seemed to shine, reflecting my headlights like a predator's in the dark. I grabbed my flashlight and climbed out of the cab, leaving the engine idling. The desert air was colder than I expected, biting at my skin as I approached her. "Hey!" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "You okay, ma'am? Need a ride?" Nothing. She just kept staring. I stopped a few feet away, the flashlight trembling slightly in my hand. Her face was gaunt, her cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass. Her lips were cracked, dry as the desert around us. But her eyes weren't human. They were too big, too dark, like they swallowed all the light around them. "Are you hurt?" I tried again, stepping closer. That's when she tilted her head, slowly, almost curiously, like a dog hearing a sound for the first time. And then she smiled. No, not smiled. She grinned. Wide, too wide, her mouth stretching impossibly far, revealing teeth that were wrong. Too many of them, jagged and yellow, like something you'd see on a deep-sea creature. My gut screamed at me to back away, but I couldn't move. I was frozen, locked in place as she took a single step forward. "Help?" she whispered, her voice raspy, like it hadn't been used in years. "Help me?" That broke the spell. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over my own boots, and bolted back to Maggie. Slamming the door behind me, I threw the truck into gear and gunned it, the engine roaring as I sped past her. In my rearview mirror, she didn't move. She just stood there, watching as I disappeared into the night. But then, she started walking. The further I drove, the harder I tried to shake her image from my mind. That grin, those teeth, I could still feel her eyes boring into me. My hands were slick on the wheel, my breath coming in shallow gasps as Maggie thundered down the road. The CB radio crackled faintly in the background, but no voices came through, just static. I kept glancing in my mirrors, half expecting to see her running after me. I know how stupid that sounds. No one can outrun a rig doing 70 down the highway, but I couldn't stop checking. The desert rolled by in silence, endless and suffocating. After about 10 minutes, I started to convince myself I'd imagined it. Maybe I was overtired. I hadn't slept much the night before, and late-night hauls mess with your head sometimes. That had to be it. I was hallucinating, seeing shadows in the dark. Then I saw it. A figure, standing in the middle of the road, far ahead, just barely visible in the headlights. "No way," I muttered, my stomach twisting into knots. It was her. Same tangled hair, same filthy dress. She was just there, waiting for me. I hit the brakes again, Maggie lurching as the tires squealed. But this time, I didn't stop completely. I slowed down enough to swerve around her, keeping my eyes locked on her as I passed. Her head turned to follow me, that terrible grin stretching even wider. And then she raised her hand. She was holding something. I only saw it for a split second, but it was enough to send a shiver down my spine. A small, bloodied object, dangling from her fingers. I don't know why, but I thought it looked like a tooth. Human. I punched the gas and didn't look back. A few miles later, I spotted a diner on the side of the road. The neon sign flickered weakly, and there were only 2 cars in the parking lot. But I didn't care. I needed to be around people to get some light, some warmth. Maggie rumbled to a stop, and I jumped out, my boots crunching against the gravel. Inside, the place was quiet, almost eerily so. A lone waitress stood behind the counter, pouring coffee for a trucker in a faded baseball cap. A couple sat in a booth near the window, sharing a plate of fries. The jukebox in the corner was playing something soft, maybe Patsy Cline. I slid into a booth and ordered a coffee, my hands still shaking. The waitress, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, gave me a concerned look but didn't ask questions. That was fine by me. I just needed a few minutes to breathe. I kept glancing out the window, half expecting to see her face pressed against the glass. But the parking lot was empty, save for Maggie and the 2 cars. The coffee came, and I downed it in one gulp, the burn grounding me for a moment. I was about to order a second when the trucker at the counter turned to me. "You headed up 89 tonight?" he asked, his voice gruff but friendly. I nodded, hesitant. "Yeah." "Why?" He frowned, scratching at the stubble on his jaw. "You see her?" My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "The woman," he said, lowering his voice. "Out on the road. Pale dark hair. Smiling at you like she knows something you don't." My mouth went dry. "You've seen her?" He nodded, his eyes dark with something I could only describe as fear. "Twice now. First time I stopped to help. Worst mistake of my life. Second time, I didn't even slow down." What is she?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He shook his head. "Don't know. Don't want to know. But if you see her again, don't stop. And for God's sake, don't let her in your cab." The words sent a chill down my spine. I paid for my coffee and bolted out of the diner, my eyes darting around the parking lot. Everything was still, the night quiet. But as I climbed back into Maggie and started the engine, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I pulled onto the highway, my headlights cutting through the darkness. And that's when I saw it in the corner of the mirror. A shadow. It moved across the side of the trailer, impossibly fast, before disappearing into the night. The next few miles were a blur. My hands gripped the wheel so tightly, my knuckles turned white. Every shadow on the road, every flicker of movement in my mirrors, sent my heart racing. I kept telling myself it was nothing, that the shadow was just my imagination. But deep down, I knew better. She was out there. The radio crackled to life, startling me so bad I nearly swerved. First, it was just static, hissing and popping. Then, faintly, a voice broke through. "You left me?" I froze, my breath caught in my throat. The voice was soft, raspy, like someone whispering through clenched teeth, and it was coming through my CB. I grabbed the mic, my hand trembling. "Who is this?" I barked, my voice louder than I intended. "This channel's for truckers only. Quit screwing around." Silence. Then a long, low exhale. "You left me?" The voice repeated, softer this time, like a child's whimper. I yanked the CB cord out of the dash, the hiss of static cutting off abruptly. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. I tried to focus on the road, on the lines rushing beneath my tires, on anything but the voice. That's when I heard it. A soft tap. It came from the passenger side of the cab, a light knock against the door. I glanced over, praying I wouldn't see what I knew was there, but of course I did. She was clinging to the side of the truck. Her face was pressed against the window, her lips curled into that impossibly wide grin. Her eyes, black, endless voids, stared straight at me. Her filthy hair whipped wildly in the wind, and her fingers, long and thin, gripped the edge of the window like claws. I swerved instinctively, the trailer groaning as the wheels skidded against the asphalt. She didn't budge. She just clung tighter, her head tilting as she mouthed two words. "Let me?" Her voice carried into the cab, though her lips barely moved. I didn't wait for her to finish. My hand shot out, locking the doors and rolling up the windows. My pulse thundered in my ears as I floored it, pushing Maggie faster than I'd ever dared. She disappeared, just like that. 1 second, she was there, her grin burned into my vision, and the next, she was gone. I scanned the mirrors, the road ahead, the side windows. Nothing. But then I heard it again. The tap. Only this time, it was coming from the sleeper cab behind me. The air in the cab turned ice cold, my breath fogging up in front of me. I didn't want to look. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to keep my eyes on the road, to just drive and not stop until the sun came up. But the tapping grew louder, more insistent. It wasn't coming from the outside. It was coming from inside the sleeper. I reached for the tire iron I kept under the seat, gripping it like a lifeline. Slowly, I turned in my seat, my flashlight trembling in my other hand as I pointed it toward the dark curtains separating the cab from the sleeper. The fabric rippled. "Who's back there?" I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. "You better come out now, or I swear." The curtain slid open, and there she was, crouched on the bed like some kind of twisted animal. Her limbs were wrong, too long, her joints bending in ways that made my stomach churn. She grinned at me, her head tilting so far to the side it looked like her neck might snap. "You didn't stop for me?" she hissed, her voice echoing inside my skull. Before I could think, before I could even scream, she lunged. Her leap seemed to defy gravity, her gangly limbs stretching toward me like a spider pouncing on its prey. Time slowed, my mind screaming at my body to move, but I was frozen. All I could see were those teeth, jagged, endless rows of them, each one sharper than the last. At the last second, instinct took over. I swung the tire iron blindly, the metallic clang ringing out as it collided with something solid. She screamed, a sound like nails on a chalkboard mixed with a growl, and vanished before my eyes, her form dissolving into a mist that swirled in the dim light of the cab. I sat there, gasping for air, the tire iron still raised like a lifeline. The mist lingered for a moment, swirling around the cab like a living thing before seeping out through the vents, disappearing into the night. The air in the truck grew warm again, and for a brief, fleeting second, I thought it was over. But then the engine cut out. Maggie's hum died in an instant, leaving me in total silence. The headlights flickered once, twice, then went dark, plunging me into the black void of the desert. I reached for the ignition, turning the key frantically, but nothing happened. Not even a click. The cab was completely dead. That's when the whispering started. It came from everywhere and nowhere, a dozen voices overlapping, too quiet to make out the words. My flashlight flickered in my hand, the beam dancing across the dashboard as I whipped it around, trying to find the source. "Why didn't you stop?" a voice hissed, close to my ear. I spun around, but there was no one there. The whispers grew louder, filling the cab with a cacophony of voices, each one more desperate than the last. "You left us. You didn't help. Why didn't you stop?" I clapped my hands over my ears, screaming at the voices to shut up, but they only grew louder. The flashlight flickered again, and for a split second, I saw them. Faces, pressed against the inside of the windows, their hollow eyes staring at me, their mouths open in silent screams. Men, women, children, all of them pale and lifeless, their features distorted with rage and sorrow. And in the middle of them all, grinning wider than ever, was her. She raised a hand, pointing at me, her lips moving silently. The whispers stopped, replaced by a deafening silence that pressed down on me like a weight. Her mouth opened wider, impossibly wide, until it filled my entire vision. And then she spoke. "You'll never escape." I don't remember much after that. Just a flash of light, a deafening roar, and then nothing. When I came to, the sun was rising, painting the desert in shades of orange and gold. Maggie's engine was rumbling softly beneath me, the headlights illuminating the empty road ahead. It was as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. The CB radio crackled softly, bringing me back to reality. A familiar voice broke through the static, one of the truckers I'd spoken to before. "You still out there, partner?" he asked. "You went radio silent for a while. Thought we lost you." My throat was dry as I reached for the mic. "Yeah," I croaked. I'm here. You sound rough. You see her." I hesitated, my eyes scanning the mirrors one last time. The road behind me was empty, stretching endlessly into the horizon. But in the distance, just barely visible in the rising light, I thought I saw a figure standing by the side of the road, watching. "Yeah," I said finally. "I saw her." "Then you're lucky you made it out," the trucker said grimly. "Not everyone does." I didn't reply. I just hung up the mic and kept driving, my eyes fixed on the horizon. I don't take Route 89 anymore. Hell, I don't take night hauls at all if I can help it. But every once in a while, when the nights are long and the roads are empty, I hear the tapping again. And I know she's still out there, waiting for the next trucker who doesn't stop. You'd think that after a night like that, I'd hang up my keys for good, quit the road, get a desk job, maybe even retire early. But that's not how it works for us truckers. The road calls and the bills don't stop coming. So I kept driving, though I avoided Route 89 like the plague. For a while, things went back to normal. No whispers, no shadows, just the endless rhythm of tires on asphalt. But the memory of her never faded. It was like she'd burned herself into my mind, her grin flashing in my nightmares, her voice haunting the silence between radio calls. And then, about 6 months later, I got another night haul. This one wasn't on Route 89, but it was close. Another lonely stretch of desert highway, miles from any town or help. I almost turned it down, but the pay was too good, and I convinced myself it was just another job. It started normally enough. The trailer was loaded with electronics bound for Vegas, and the first few hours passed without incident. But as the night wore on, I felt it again. That heavy, oppressive stillness, like the air itself was watching me. Around 3 a.m., the radio crackled to life. Static, faint at first, then louder. I turned the dial, trying to clear it up, but no matter what channel I switched to, the same sound came through. A whisper. "You didn't stop." My blood ran cold. I grabbed the mic, my voice shaking as I barked into it. "Who the hell is this? Quit screwing around." No response, just static, and then faintly a laugh, low and guttural, like it was coming from somewhere deep inside the speaker. I pulled off the road, my hands trembling as I shut off the engine. The desert was silent, the stars overhead too bright, too sharp. I climbed out of the cab, the cool air biting at my skin as I scanned the horizon. Nothing, just the empty road and the endless expanse of sand and scrub. And then I heard it. The tap. It came from the back of the trailer, faint but unmistakable. A slow, deliberate knock, like someone rapping their knuckles against the metal. My heart pounded as I grabbed the tire iron from the cab and made my way to the rear of the rig. The tapping continued, steady and rhythmic, each knock echoing in the stillness. I reached the doors, my flashlight shaking in my hand as I aimed it at the latch. "Whoever's back there," I called out. "You've got about 3 seconds to leave before I call the cops." The tapping stopped. For a moment, there was nothing, just silence and the sound of my own ragged breathing. Then, slowly, the latch began to move. It slid open with a screech, the doors creaking as they swung outward. My flashlight beam darted inside, illuminating row after row of stacked boxes. The trailer was empty, except for the cargo. But the air inside felt wrong, thick and heavy. like stepping into a room where something terrible had just happened. And then I saw it, scrawled in black on the inside wall of the trailer, written in shaky, jagged letters. "You can't run forever." I staggered back, dropping the flashlight as the words burned into my vision. The tapping started again, louder this time, coming from all around me. Inside the cab, the roof of the trailer, the desert itself. I scrambled into Maggie, locking the doors and flooring the gas, the rig roaring to life as I tore down the highway. In the rearview mirror, the trailer doors swung wildly, flapping in the wind. And for just a second, I saw her again, crouched inside the trailer, her grin stretching wider than ever. I made it to Vegas that night, but barely. I delivered the load, parked Maggie, and checked into a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. I didn't sleep, just sat there, staring at the door, the faint sound of tapping echoing in my ears. I've told this story to a few truckers since then, and everyone has a theory. Some say she's a ghost, the spirit of someone who died on the road, seeking revenge on those who didn't help her. Others think she's something older, something inhuman that preys on drivers who dare to travel the desert alone. Me? I don't know, and I don't care to find out. All I know is this: if you're ever out on a lonely highway at night and you see a woman in white, don't stop. Don't talk to her. Don't even look at her. Because once she finds you, she never lets go. It's been years since that night. I don't drive the long hauls anymore. The money was good, sure, but after what happened on Route 89, and again on that stretch to Vegas, I realized it wasn't worth my sanity or my life. I sold Maggie to a younger guy, a fresh-faced kid named Ryan who had that same eager look I used to have when I first hit the road. I tried to warn him. "Don't take the night routes," I told him. "Stick to the main highways, and if you see something out there, keep driving." He laughed it off, said I sounded like one of those old-timers spinning ghost stories. I didn't press the issue. Some lessons you can't teach. They have to be learned. But the road doesn't forget. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting in my kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee when the phone rang. It was Ryan. His voice was shaky, panicked, like he couldn't catch his breath. "She found me," he said. I didn't need to ask who he meant. Ryan told me he'd been hauling up Route 89 late at night, his first time on that stretch. "She was standing in the middle of the road," he said, his voice cracking. "She smiled at me, man. Just smiled." I asked him what happened next, already dreading the answer. I stopped. My heart sank. "Why the hell would you do that? She looked like she needed help," he shouted. What was I supposed to do? Just leave her there? "Yes," I said firmly. "You were supposed to keep going." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "She's following me now. Every night I see her. In the mirrors on the side of the road. Sometimes I hear her in the trailer, tapping. I can't outrun her. She's always there." I didn't have the heart to tell him the truth. That once she's found you, there's no escaping her. All I could say was, "Don't stop again. No matter what. Don't stop." He hung up without saying goodbye. The thing about the road is it stays with you. The memories, the places, the people. It all lingers like a ghost riding shotgun in your mind. And sometimes when I'm lying in bed late at night, I still hear it. That soft, rhythmic tapping. Faint at first, then louder, more insistent. I haven't seen her again, but I know she's still out there, waiting, watching. If you're ever on the road late at night and you see a woman standing alone, don't stop. Don't even slow down. Because once you let her in, once you let her see you, you're hers forever. And if you're lucky enough to make it out alive, like me, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering when she'll come back. Because she always does.